it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Surya Kant, Chairman of Tata Consultancy Services Americas. Sury, as he is known to his friends and colleagues, is a lifetime TCSer and has spent the bulk of his corporate career in America. He has also been responsible for operations in Japan and in the UK. He leads an organization of almost 40,000 employees in the Americas. He's deeply committed to social responsibility and has led initiatives in every state the TCS operates in. He is a board member of the CECP, which is an organization that was founded by Paul Newman to create a better world through business. Sury lives in New Jersey and has run the New York Marathon. Over to you, Sury, to hear more about borderless workplaces.
Good evening to all of you. It's truly a privilege to speak with all of you today. But to be honest, I wish I were with you in person. Here we are in early May, and the pandemic continues to take a staggering toll on human life. We will forever mourn more than 500,000 lives lost in the US and 3 million worldwide. Even as more of the population is vaccinated, COVID-19 continues to leave a trail of destruction in its wake. Yet even when it subsides, measuring the long-term impact of this prolonged trauma on our physical and mental health will take some time. Without a doubt, the repercussions will last for generations. The tragic loss of life, the separation between loved ones, the disruption of education, weddings, funerals, and family gatherings. All of us zooming into TiEcon today represent a diverse cross-section of the industry. We are entrepreneurs, executives, venture capitalists, technologists, government leaders, and educators. Each one of us shares a passion for technology entrepreneurship. We also have something else in common, an unwavering belief in science and its power to transform lives. If we didn't, we wouldn't be here. So I hope you would agree with me that as professionals, we share an obligation to help fight the pandemic. A year ago, many of you rolled up your sleeves to face the challenge. You provided computers and software to healthcare workers, manufactured face masks using 3D printers, donated computing power to a virtual supercomputer working overtime to uncover the virus's secrets, and deployed contact tracing to contain the spread of COVID-19. If a technology was ever ready for its close-up moment, that was it. Being on the front lines of tech, we should always be proud of these accomplishments because they underscore our faith in science and technology. So I hope you will roll up your sleeves once again and get vaccinated, and urge your family and friends to do so. Fortunately, at the end of the tunnel is being seen, it's getting brighter. In my neighborhood in New Jersey, flowers are blooming, signaling rebirth. What a better metaphor for future. More kids are playing in the park. People are returning to houses of worship. Grandparents are getting closer to spending more quality time with their grandchildren. And the waiting lines for the couple to tie the knot might get longer than traffic jam on the Suez Canal. These are encouraging signs, but make no mistake, we may be seeing signs that the new normal is reverting to the old normal. Yet there is no denying that COVID-19 will leave an indelible impression on the economy, society, and industries, and on each one of us in many ways. Like other destructive forces of nature, some of the effects of pandemic will be permanent, but unlike hurricanes and earthquakes, some of these changes will actually be for the better. That is why when it comes to speculating about future of work, instead of talking about the new normal, I prefer to say the new beginning. After more than a year of hearing about the new normal, don't you think it's time to move on? There are definitely signs around us that things are moving in the right direction, which is a good thing. But even as our pre-pandemic activities slowly come back to life, our workplace routines stubbornly lag behind. I would venture to say that, like me, most of us are probably still working from home. Speculation abounds as how COVID-19 will change the future of work. Will companies adopt permanent work from home policies? Will offices and corporate campuses become obsolete? Is your daily commute destined for extinction, or the city is doomed? I would argue that history teaches us otherwise. Think back to 1990s when companies began selling products on the internet. Some pundits predicted that retail stores would disappear. While the traditional retail industry continues to be disrupted by digital technology, it turned out that one sales channel didn't wipe out the other. Retail evolved into an omni-channel experience. The traditional borders between shopping at a brick and mortar store and on the web started to become borderless. Fast forward to today, and we are shopping with our voice, smartphone apps, and using curbside and in-store pickup. New, more flexible ways of shopping continues to pop up. For example, PGA Tour Superstore, the specialty golf gear and apparel retailer, turned to TCS to transform the shopping experience for their 8 million customers. As a result, shoppers at their retail locations will have access to endless inventory from across all their stores. As you can see, due to the pandemic, shopping is becoming even more of a hybrid experience and borderless, not confined to any particular brick and mortar location. Once the retail industry became untethered from physical locations, it unleashed a wave of creativity that continues to benefit consumers. Thanks to AI, analytics, and cloud, shopping is constantly becoming more personalized and consistent experience both online and in-store across all sales channels. In fact, these days, the quality of customer experience is often just as important as the price for the customer. Indeed, the disruptive forces of the internet and the pandemic have ushered in a new beginning. At TCS, we see the pandemic having a similar transformative effect on the workplace going forward. In the new beginning, we believe first, there'll be significant fundamental and irreversible changes in the way organizations get their work done. Second, that hybrid, or as we like to say, borderless places of work will become commonplace and successful, but only if organizations evolve their cultures and take steps to keep employees energized, focused, and motivated. Third, that winning enterprises will be the ones that channel the optimism and opportunities for the new beginning into benefits for their customers and communities that they serve. When the pandemic hit in full force in March of last year, our first priority at TCS was the health and safety of our nearly 500,000 employees around the world, even as we continue to support our clients' mission critical activities. Across the 46 countries where we do business, post-lockdown stretched our global delivery model to new limits. It turned out to be the ultimate stress test in the business continuity. And I'm proud to say, on behalf of our employees and clients, that we passed. Like any difficult experience, we learned some important things about our business model and our culture. In fact, these lessons were so eye-popping that they inspired our leadership to embrace an entirely new operating model for our business. By the year 2025, only 25% of TCS employees will work out of an office at any given time. We call it our 25 by 25 model. What makes us confident in this new operating model is that when the pandemic hit, we executed a strategy called Secure Borderless Workspaces, or SBWS for short, which allowed us to transition 96% of our employees at the time to work from home within only 3 weeks. Although we didn't realize it at the time, we had put in the pieces in place to pull this off years ago. First, as one of the largest IT services and consulting companies In the world, TCS has long been a leader in agile software development. At the dawn of agile some 20 years ago, developers were expected to collaborate in the same physical location. But with the rapid globalization of business and IT, this became increasingly impractical. Increasingly, agile team members were working from different offices, time zones, and continents. So we developed our own approach to agile that allowed teams to collaborate in real time across geographies, regardless of where they were at any point in time. We call it location independent agile. Second, at the same time, we were building open agile collaborative workspaces, which essentially were environments that our employees could use from anywhere. They were loaded with collaboration software and could tap into data and applications in the cloud. Since these were no longer tethered to the TCS offices, we made the security more robust to guard against unauthorized access. Well before COVID-19 forced lockdowns and employees to work from home, TCS had these two key pieces already in place. The location independent methodology for managing teams collaborating on projects, and the technology to enable employees to work securely from anywhere in the planet. That's why we call this capability secure borderless workspaces instead of workplaces. I share this story with you today because I'm proud of this achievement and the fact that our employees were delivering in excess of 26,000 client projects from the safety of their homes and meeting customer service level agreements that we agreed to before our pandemic, even with less than 2% of our people coming to our facilities. Another reason that I'm telling you this is that because all of our experiences working remotely these past 14 months hold a lesson about future of work. Even when pandemic subsides and people begin to return to office, we cannot escape the fact that the world, their world, has permanently changed. Our experience at TCS may not be typical for every company, whether or not you are in the technology sector, but let me share some highlights of our journey. First, today, nearly 100% of our employees are productively engaged from where they are working remotely. Second, on many of our client projects, we are actually seeing better execution, throughput, and team productivity. Third, the average time that our employees spend on virtual training is going up. And lastly, and so importantly, our overall employee satisfaction is actually improving during a pandemic, no less. I can't overstate the last point. The health and emotional well-being of employees living and working in isolation is a priority. Ladies and gentlemen, think about it. For over more than a year, there has no water cooler talk that has happened. People aren't bumping into one another in the hall or having impromptu lunches. The absence of in-person interactions has loosened the bonds that have been formed between people working in close proximity over time. In addition to the tragic loss of life and suffering, there is another casualty of pandemic. It's the loss of ambient awareness that we all benefit from, just from being in the office. These tidbits and pieces of knowledge that we consciously pick up in hallways, the casual conversations that collectively help us connect the dots, the seemingly trivial things that spur unplanned opportunities to brainstorm and collaborate, and which help define our shared sense of the purpose. Without a doubt, the loss of ambient awareness is a threat to the corporate cultures that business leaders have worked so assiduously to create, especially in the tech sector. When the pandemic hit, my company took up the challenge of recreating this chatter of knowledge. To help employees endure the isolation from colleagues, we got into broadcast programming business. We set up a channel on our company collaboration platform dedicated to fun and interesting content like cooking classes and a live chat with a chess grandmaster. even a talk by an astronaut on how to cope up with working in isolation of outer space. Now that's remote working. And of course, plenty of yoga sessions to reduce stress. We also realize that even in a pandemic, giving back to local communities can help people and help them feel better. So we transformed our STEM education programs, Go IT, and Ignite My Future in School to be completely virtual. That way we could continue to offer free instruction and mentoring to teachers and students. Interestingly, the forced pivot to remote learning actually enabled TCS to hit our goal of reaching 1 million students in the US and 20,000 teachers with our STEM education programming a full school year ahead of schedule. Yet as successful as many of our efforts remain productive have been, there is no denying that being in the workplace is at times necessity. Of course, for some industries like manufacturing, there is no choice. To remain productive and satisfied, many, if not most enterprises are anxious to have their workers back when it's safe to do so. But the truth is, returning to old normal instead of the new beginning would be a mistake. A missed opportunity to make things better in the wake of a tragedy. There is a simple reason that we have embraced a hybrid operating model, our 25 by 25 vision. Again, by 2025, only up to 25% of our workforce will work out of TCS offices at any given time. We believe our employees and clients will be happy. Take a moment to consider it from an employee perspective. Embracing a location-independent operating model for work makes it easier to match talented professionals where they need it most, regardless of where that may be. That includes new places where they would like to steer their career, which used to be largely tied to the cities where company facilities were located. Of course, some of this was already happening, but COVID-19 will shift this trend into higher gear. Going forward, instead of employees going to work, everywhere you turn, work will be going to employees. This borderless way of working has two main benefits. First, employees won't have to live in or near a particular city to perform their role. Some people could eliminate their commute entirely, allowing them to be more productive and reduce carbon emissions. Second, organizations won't be limited to talent located within commuting distance of their offices. Instead, they can tap into what we call a talent cloud. This model is not only beneficial for customers who can take advantage of broader access to company talent, it also opens up all kinds of exciting career opportunities for employees too. Regardless of how much face time employees have racked up in the office, they could have more chances to take charge of their career, even if they don't fit the traditional mold for a role. For some people, that could remove obstacles that have stood in the way of their career advancement. Now you may ask yourself, how will the companies make use of the ideal corporate real estate in the world of hybrid borderless workspaces? At TCS, employees will continue to work in the office, but only about 25% of the time. We will use freed up space to build up labs and R&D facilities, places where people can brainstorm on the next new idea and to absorb their fair share of ambient awareness. You might be thinking that this workplace model sounds tailor-made for an IT and consulting services firm like TCS, and I won't argue with that, but it is well suited for other sectors too, because the pandemic has forced many businesses to focus on services. From gym instructors hosting online workouts to doctors embracing telemedicine, every industry is focusing on service delivery. To survive, firms have transformed homebound employees into virtual service providers. That's unlikely to change when the pandemic subsides. More than 2 decades ago, retailers were beginning to face disruption for being too slow to embrace e-commerce. Fast forward to today, organizations that do not adapt for the borderless workspaces of tomorrow could also get left behind. But I believe that businesses that follow the new digital first operating models will be able to take more advantage of their talent. They'll be in a better position to pursue the growth opportunities that are out there. TCS is among the first major global technology firms to commit to such a significant change in its workplace model. While some tech companies have backed down a bit from their earlier projections about remote working, we continue to believe that in the long term, our employees will stay productive and engaged without always being in the office. Even when COVID-19 is behind us, remote work won't be seen as a short-term response to a tragedy, but as a new way of working that has undeniable benefits and promise. Of course, we could speculate all day and night about how work will change going forward, and whether or not you believe, as I do, that hybrid work models are the future. The life-changing experiences that all of us have endured will leave an indelible impression on the organizations and their stakeholders. Each one of us is still in the midst of an ongoing trauma that has forced us to appreciate the things that matter most to us. The same is true for the companies that we work for and do business with, no matter what the industry you are in. The pandemic has already left an indelible impression on businesses. The pace of digital transformation has accelerated. The business models have changed. Some revenue streams may never recover, while the new ones may continue to pay dividends. The variety of lasting changes will vary by company and sector. But when the pandemic is behind us, whether you become part of a hybrid borderless workplace, whether you are back at the office full time or whether you are still remote, I predict one change will be lasting. The company that you worked for when the pandemic began will not be the same one you're working for when it's over. No matter where you're sitting, I encourage you to take advantage of the new beginning now to transform your business. Thank you.